Let's talk where to stay when you visit Panama City, Panama. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're family, duh. Anyway, today's video is about finding where to stay in Panama City, Panama. So if you've never been, or maybe you're coming back and you want to know where to stay, or you want to get tips on areas to stay in, I got you, okay? I absolutely love Panama City and I've had some really great experiences with Airbnbs, but I do have some tips and suggestions on areas to stay, Airbnb hacks, especially when it comes to the financial side, safety, quality of accommodations, and just some things to be mindful of. All right, so let's jump right into it. All right, here we go. So one little trick that I do whenever I visit a new country is I start off in the more touristy areas and work my way into more local neighborhoods. That way I feel more comfortable and I know there's a heightened sense of security where the tourists are because most cities don't want to mess that money up, right? So I usually will stay closer to the tourist areas before working my way in. So that's what I did when I visited Panama City for the first time. I started off on Avenida Balboa, which is just a very heavily populated area. It's very popular. A lot of tourists stay there. So you're not like off in the cut or anything. And the first Airbnb I stayed in, I was blown away because it was so much bang for my buck. Like high-rise apartment with an amazing ocean view, and it was a little bit older, I will say that, but the check-in process was very much like that of a hotel. That's what I've noticed just traveling around South America in general. Airbnb is such a big business for them. They're not trying to mess none of that up. So if you're afraid to stay in Airbnbs and you think it's like a little janky situation, I promise you, I have not had any bad experiences with Airbnbs. Now, that's not to say that you won't ever. I don't know. I hope not. But from my personal experience, the check-in process, all of that is very secure. You have to give your passport. They have to keep tabs of who you are, and they don't play about that, all right? So it is very much like if you were checking into a hotel. So anyway, if you're staying on the front side of Avenida Balboa where you can actually see the cars driving along, you kind of got to go like into the little side streets where you can find things to do. But it is very walkable. Like you can tell as you're walking through that area that they're very much in the process of like reconstructing it. There's tons of bars, restaurants. There's tons of bars, restaurants, things to do, grocery stores, all that good stuff. But please keep in mind, they know that there are a lot of tourists in that area. And so they are definitely going to charge you way more than they would in other parts of the city. That's just something that comes with it. But if your priority is safety, comfort, and just familiarity, depending on where you're from, then that could be a good area for you to find a place to stay. You'll also find a lot of hotels over there. Like where I stayed the first time was right underneath Le Meridian, which is a very nice hotel. I actually have had dinner in there several times and they're very nice. Staff is very welcoming. I didn't stay there, but just even being in there, I can tell it's just a very nice hotel. Not too far from that down the street is the Waldorf, and there are several other really nice hotels around that area. So if you kind of start around Avenida Balboa and like work your way around, you can definitely find some nice places to stay. I would have to give this Airbnb like a 8 out of 10. The views, hands down, one of the best views that I've had staying in Panama. But it was a little bit older, so that's really the only thing that I could probably say. If it was a little more modernized, probably one of my favorite Airbnbs. The second place that I stayed, absolutely hands down, my favorite Airbnb, the most bang for my buck. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, washer and dryer, like huge spot, spiral staircase, beautiful. I think I paid, let me see how much I paid for that. It was like $88 a night, which is a little higher, but it was worth it. Like it was so nice. But here's the thing to keep in mind. Although it was in Casco Viejo, which is like a more historic district of Panama City, love me some Casco Viejo. But the deeper you get into it, you can definitely see the gentrification. So this spot in particular, it is right across the street from Santa Ana Plaza. And Santa Ana Plaza, if you walk back down the street, down Santa Ana Plaza area, it's a little rough around the edges over there, all right? I can't say that I felt like it was dangerous, but you could tell it's less touristy, okay? It's definitely less touristy. I was personally comfortable. There's a lot of elderly people that are like in the park playing dominoes, playing chess. You might see somebody peeing on a tree, not too far from where you staying at. But I'm just being real with y'all. It's not a dangerous place to stay, but it is a beautiful Airbnb. You just got to make sure you're mindful and not, walking outside, taking videos on your phone because you kind of look like a target. But there are a lot of police officers scattered throughout. So I would say, just be smart. Don't walk around at night randomly in places you don't know. Keep your head on the swivel and keep it cute. All right. I'm gonna have to give this one a 9 out of 10. Outside of the area being in that like turnover phase, the staff was amazing, very, very welcoming. The key code entry, very safe. The pool, the rooftop pool, yeah, chef's kiss. And overall, the unit in itself, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Price a little high, but it didn't matter. It was just a very, very, very nice combination. Now, let's go to my next Airbnb. It was called La Maroki, I believe. Hold on, let me look. I don't want to tell y'all wrong. Casa Maroki. Okay. It's also one of those areas where you can tell that like it's in the early stages of gentrification, but it's like right on the cusp of the touristy part. So you might have to walk through like some dogs and kids playing in the street, which I mean, ain't nothing wrong with that. So it is a nice little ducked off spot. Felt 100% safe. The rooms are pretty small though. So if it's just one person, maybe two people, you can get away with it. It is a boutique hotel, so you may or may not have staff on the premises at all times. And then they are like Big Brother on the cameras because I think it's because they don't have staff on site all the time. They are on them cameras like white on rice. Okay. They do also have very strict pool hours. I found out the hard way. I didn't even know that they had pool hours. The guest or the host didn't tell me that. So I'm up at the pool having a glass of wine, chilling, and the security comes up like, what are you doing here? So it didn't make for the most comfortable, welcoming environment to me. But the hotel was nice, had a very Moroccan feel, like almost felt like you were in Spain. And yeah, overall, clean, safe, and a decent price, but very small. Not the most welcoming staff. And I'd have to give that one like a 7.5 out of 10. Okay, so the next one was called PH Novalux. The pros of this place is that it was very, very, very inexpensive. And it was one of them places where if you just need a place to stay for the night, cool. But I would say it's probably my least favorite Airbnb. It's in this neighborhood called Caledonia, which, yeah, depending on what part of Caledonia you're in, it could definitely be a little travish, okay? But I feel like the area that I was in is like right on that border of you walk one way, you good. You walk the other way, I don't know. If you are traveling like a traveler and not a tourist, you'll be just fine. You'll be just fine. Especially if you want like a short term, a place to just come and rest your head, you'll be fine. Like I said, very inexpensive. Neighborhood, definitely not the best. The walls, super thin. I mean, super thin. But I think I kind of got lucky because it wasn't a lot of people staying when I was staying, so I didn't really hear a lot of noise. But when there was someone staying, it was like there was in a room with you. So I would have to give this one like a 5 out of 10. It held me down, but if I ain't gotta stay there, I'm good. I'm good. Now, the last Airbnb I stayed in was in the Marbella neighborhood, which is kind of like a more corporate district. All around, I'd have to say this is probably one of my favorite Airbnbs because it felt like I was at home. Before I started this whole nomadic journey, I left Atlanta, Georgia. And so living in Atlanta, you kind of can get used to the high-rise life or just living in high-rise or mid-rise life. And so that's kind of what this neighborhood gave me. It kind of felt like if you've ever been in Midtown Atlanta. And if you haven't, just think of high rise with a lot of like coffee shops, cafes, things like that. I actually stayed in 2 different units in this building and both were very nice. The first one I stayed in did have a mold problem though. Everything was great. Very, very spacious, very beautiful. But the bedroom, like the air conditioner unit had like some moldy stuff going on. So I had to move units. And the unit that I did move to was much better. Upstairs had a very, very nice pool. But the gym, Yeah, not that great. But the good thing about Panama City and a lot of other countries in South and Central America, there's a Smart Fit everywhere you go. Like if you need a gym, if you need a day pass, you can just go to Smart Fit. There are also a lot of other little local gyms you could go to. When I say little, I just mean they're smaller than the big corporate gyms. But usually a day pass may cost you like $10 a day or something like that. There are several like bodybuilding style gyms in Panama City, which I really like. But yeah, if you can't find a gym in the building that you're renting, you could definitely just go to SmartFit, and they're definitely scattered around the city. Yeah, with this Airbnb, this one felt the most like home. Like I feel like I could just stay there and live there. And like I said, very, very spacious. The staff was extremely helpful, extremely nice. Pool and the views, amazing. Yeah, I think I paid like $30 a night for this spot. So I would have to give this spot like a 9 out of 10 as well. Very close to everything. Not super, super tourist heavy, but close to everything that you might want to explore as a tourist as well. Also, here's a little trick that I don't know if you knew this, but you can use after payments or like Klarna, Afterpay, Affirm. You can use those to pay for Airbnb and hotels. So if you are like on a budget and you want to maybe break your trip up differently financially, you can absolutely use Klarna, Afterpay, and Affirm to pay for your accommodations. I know with Airbnb specifically, you can go directly through Klarna in the Airbnb app as a payment method. So it just makes it a little more convenient if your budget is tight. Maybe you want to spend that money to explore or do other things. You can absolutely do that. I know that has helped me a couple times where I'm like, oh, let me break this up into payments instead of paying the entire amount, all at once. So quick little hack. Speaking of hacks, if you're trying to stay in Panama City longer than a month, I highly recommend not going through Airbnb. I say this because it's going to be much higher. And if you go through like a realtor or you find a Panama City based website that you can find housing, you're going to pay way less money. All right. An average apartment in Panama City will probably cost you depending on what you like, between $900 and $1,500 a month. It just depends on obviously like bedroom, square footage, bathroom, stuff like that. But you can definitely get a much better deal versus you trying to pay on Airbnb. Another thing, if you look on Vrbo, VRBO, if you've never used that site, it's just a vacation rental site. But sometimes you will find more options depending on the area on Vrbo than you will find on Airbnb. So make sure you check Vrbo as well. Sometimes Vrbo also doesn't have like the cleaning fee and the tags and like all the extra stuff that Airbnb might add. It just depends. I got a much better deal on Vrbo for a place that I was staying at. Where remember I told y'all I stayed in 2 different units in the same Airbnb building. Well, the one that had the mold, I wanted to stay there, but I was like, I literally can't. I don't know what I'm breathing in. So I looked on Airbnb first, and I didn't find any other units through Airbnb. So I looked on Vrbo, and I found 2 units in the same building, but it was on Vrbo, and it was cheaper. So that's just a trick as well, something that I've done. Just check your sources. Now, I haven't stayed in many hotels in Panama City, Panama, but they have tons to pick from. I would say regardless if you're choosing Airbnbs or hotels, you're safe regardless. And they don't play about security. They don't play. Even when you go to like restaurants and things like that, they got somebody at the front. Like, okay, what you need? What's the reservation? Like a lot of places are like that, especially in the more touristy areas. So when it comes to security and safety, I'm not saying that Panama City doesn't have rough areas. Okay. There's going to be areas that are a bit rough around the edges anywhere you go. But from my experience, people are very, very nice, very welcoming. Security is a priority. But like always, use your common sense. Be aware, of your surroundings. And don't get too comfortable. You wouldn't do that anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So why would you do it in a place that you don't live?